Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram. So in the last class, we started the section where we find that the process of experiencing the Brahman in Samadhi, the discussion on that has just started. The 355th verse, from 355th to the 369th verse. We won't be studying all the verses, the important verses which deals with this subject, that we will take up. The process of realizing the Brahman in Samadhi. So what's the prerequisite conditions required? So in the 355th verse, we find that the 6 treasures which has been spoken of in Vedanta philosophy as the prerequisites for the attainment of the highest spiritual realization, the Sama, Damadhi, Shat Sampatti. What are the 6 treasures? Shama, Dhamma, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha and Samadhana. So this 6 treasures has been spoken of in the 355th verse. So what it is saying? Shanto Dantah Param Uparatah Kshanti Yuktah Samadhim Kurvan Nityam Kalayati Yati Swasya Swarvatma Bhavam Tena Avidya Timira Janitan Sadhu Dagdha Vikalpan Brahma Kritya Nivasati Sukham Nishkriyah Nirvikalpaha. So a Yati, a Sannyasin. Sannyasin is called Yati. So what are the characteristics of a sannyasi, the yati? Shanta, that he should be calm. Danta, self-controlled. And then perfectly retiring from the sense world. Param uparata, he has perfectly retired from the sense world, the world of senses. Kshanti yukta, he should be forbearing. And he should be devoting himself to the practice of Samadhi. Kurvan Nityam Kalayati. So this, always he should be thinking of Samadhi Kurvan Nityam Kalayati. He should be practicing the meditational process of Samadhi. And then how he should do that? By always reflecting on his self, being the self of the whole universe. Swasya Sarvatma Bhavam. Swasya Sarvatma Bhavam. That thinking of his own self as the soul of the whole universe. Means his self is not the limited self which, because of ignorance, he thinks to be localized within the body-mind complex. That the ultimate realization will take him to the realization of the self which is beyond this body-mind complex, which transcends this body-mind complex. It is a non-local consciousness which permeates the entire existence, and we are that, not even a part of it. We are that. So that's what's the meaning of Swasya Sarvatma Bhavam, that you become as if the self of the entire universe. So that is in one word we can say that constantly contemplating on this spiritual notion which we have learned from the scriptures, that Aham Brahmasmi, that I am that Brahman. So through that process one goes to one attains the Samadhi. And thus what he will be destroying completely by this means the imaginations which are due to the gloom of ignorance. Tena avidya timira janitan sadhu dagdha. Sadhu dagdha. Dagdha means to burn. And the word sadhu has been used as a prefix before dagdha. Sadhu means burning completely, without any residue. All the vikalpa, that the self alone exists, whatever I see as the world of name and form, are called vikalpa, substitute. That's something which is appearing as something else. So that's why they are called vikalpa. We will find in our day-to-day life that as a human being, we are constantly resorting to vikalpa. That's what in the language of psychology it is called dual representation. That even a small child most probably is playing in the backyard of his house, and suddenly the mother comes to see what the child is doing, and he finds the child has a twig in his hand, a branch of a plant which has fallen, a twig. He is having the twig in his hand, and he is showing it to his mother, saying, "Don't come near, I have a sword in my hand." So this is the dual representation. It's not the sword, it is just a stick which the child is substituting as a sword. So this capacity to think something as something else, we'll find all our language, everything, that when I see a flower, the flower has no name, no form. The perception is the pure perception, gives us the knowledge. And that we substitute by giving it a name. That, oh, this is rose, this is tube rose, this is jasmine. So this language is also a substitute, vikalpa. So this world, whenever I am perceiving, is we're perceiving through certain names and forms which are all vikalpa. To know the thing in essence is to go beyond this vikalpa, because vikalpa cannot give us the true knowledge. The one who has not tasted the mango, however language, which is the substitute of the mango, is all this language is just used as a substitute to represent the mango. If I have not tasted the mango, that language won't help me. So the realization speaks of going beyond all these substitutes, going beyond the vikalpa. So this, by the process of meditation at present, even the word Brahman is a vikalpa for me. It's just a word. It as such has no meaning because I haven't realized. So here, even to go beyond the idea that I am Brahman and to realize what that Brahman means is being meant by going beyond all vikalpa. Tena avidya timira janitan sadhu dakta vikalpan. So first, I negate the world of name and form, and at last, the idea with which, the concept with which I was negating, that concept also is negated, is washed away when I go to the realization. So that's why it is called sadhu dagdha, that everything has been burnt off in totality, nothing remains. So that's what happens through this process of meditation. And then at last what happens? He lives blissfully as Brahman, free from action and the oscillations of the mind. So, Brahma kritya nivasati sukhang, nishkriyan, no action, nirvikalpaha. So that he is without the oscillations of the mind, without the vacillations of the mind. That's what is meant by the word nirvikalpa. And it is the vacillations of the mind that results in action. So once the vacillations of the mind stops, the actions also fall off. So this is the idea which we find in the 355th verse. So the first two lines speaks of the sixfold practices. What are the sixfold practices? Shama, this Shanta means of Shama. Danta, Dama. Parama Uparata speaks of Uparati. Kshanti Yukta, this speaks of Titiksha, the forbearing. The Kshanti speaks of Titiksha. And Samadhi, the ultimate thing. Through all these things, the only one word which is missing here is Shraddha. That unless I have faith, I cannot practice all those things. So that is somehow obviously meant, though it is not mentioned. It of course includes that Shraddha. So what it means, these six practices, that we also will understand. Shama, First, Kshama means controlling of the mind. Unless I control the mind, Dhamma means control of the senses. Without controlling the mind, I cannot control the senses. If I try to control the senses without controlling the mind, it will lead to all sorts of psychological abnormalities. So that we find that in our present age, in psychology, they say that suppression actually harms us. In Vedanta also they say the same thing. It's not suppression, forcefully trying to curb the senses. I have some high ideal that I am the self, I'm not the body, not the mind, not the senses. I am the self. Being established in that idea by convincing myself with this idea, when I try to first I restrain the mind, that if I am the self, my identification with the body and with the objects of the senses speaks of delusion. So I should not get deluded by constantly identifying myself with the body-mind complex and with the sense objects. So first through this conviction, I try to calm my mind. I don't get identified with the body-mind complex and the sense objects. So this controlling of the mind is called Shama, Shanta. And then comes Danta. Then once I have convinced my mind, then if I try to control my senses with a proper orientation, that's not going to harm me. That's going to help me to evolve in the spiritual journey. So Shama, Dhamma. And this control of the senses is not easy. The mind is constantly outgoing. So what I have to do to get established in this Dhamma, that though my mind have understood that the sense pursuit is useless, but because of its past association, past inertia, it will again and again try to resort to the sense objects. So then comes this practice of uparati, that whenever the mind goes out, I cajole the mind and bring it back again to my object of meditation. So this is called uparati, unceasingly trying to bring the mind again and again back to the object of my meditation. So it's not that I am forcing my mind. It is just pacifying it by the proper orientation and bringing it back calmly. So recently I read a very nice idea. What's that idea? That meditation, uparati, doesn't mean to get rid of all distractions. It is not possible, because the mind means it will be jumping from thought to thought. The vacillations will be there. That's the property of the mind. As long as the mind is there, the vacillation will be there. To stop the vacillation is almost impossible. That's why even during the meditation we find that the mind is filled with so many thoughts. It's not that during the meditation suddenly the mind has become restless. It was restless. Previously I was not aware of it. Now, as I have resolved to lead a contemplative life, now I am aware of the working of my mind. It's actually a progress. It's not a deterioration. It's not that my mind was okay previously and suddenly it has become restless. It was restless. As I was quite happy with the way of life I was leading, I was not aware of it. Now I am aware of it. Then what's the way out? If I try to bring the mind again and again to the thought of my meditation, it will go again to all these distractions. So we find that we fail in the attempt. We get disgusted when we think that I have to stop all the thoughts. I have to be just like a bouncer, like a security guard, to just get rid of all the thoughts. It will never happen. They will come back again and again. So instead of trying to get rid of the thought, just the way a security guard or a bouncer gets rid of all the unwanted guests, the unwanted people, they are not invited. I want to get rid of them. So instead of trying that way, our attitude should be what? All are invited. I cannot get rid of them, but just as in a ceremony, it's in an open event that all are invited, but we can have some chief guest. That's this program is open for all, but as a chief guest, as a distinguished guest, we may invite someone. So during the meditation, that's the idea we have to keep in our mind. That the thought which I have resolved to resort to in my meditation is the chief guest. It deserves my special attention. The others are there. They will come and go. I need not bother about them. I need not try to restrict them. It's quite natural. As long as the mind is there, it will vacillate. Let them be there. But this is the prime thought. And in the Uparati, that's what I'm trying to do. Bring again and again. I'm trying to attain to this chief guest, bringing it back to the object of contemplation. And it's not an easy process. It results in a lot of hardship. And that's why it has been called, the next practice is titiksha, the forbearance. That we have to be very, very patient. It's not going to happen in a day. That we have to forbear all the hardships of life without reacting. It's not just passive resistance. That I have resisted all the things which I don't want, but mentally I am grumbling. That won't entail in calming of the mind. After all, my aim is to calm the mind. So titiksha is what? As has been defined very nicely by Bhagavad Pada Shankaracharya almost in the beginning of this Vivekachudamani, what? That sahanang sarva dukkhana apratikara purvakam. That I have to forbear all the hardships without trying to resolve them. The next line is still more important. Chinta vilapa rahitam. Chinta vilapa rahitam. That inner grumbling should stop. That there shouldn't be any reaction, what to speak of reacting outside, even within. That reaction shouldn't be there. If it is there, then the practice of forbearance is useless. Outwardly, I am just showing my calmness. The mind is totally disturbed. It's not going to help me in my contemplative journey. So that reaction has to stop. I have to forbear, knowing it well, that all these hardships are at last going to give me that result in the form of spiritual evolution. And then that Shanti, when you practiced, then comes the practice of Samadhi. I have done this preparation. I have controlled my mind. I have controlled my senses. I have developed the faculty to give the thought, the object of meditation, the prime importance. That I try to keep in my mind. And all the hardships I forbear without any grudge and reaction. And then I have, with all these practices, have developed the capacity to calm my mind to a great extent. And then comes the practice of Samadhi, to keep the mind in the thought of your meditation, the object of your meditation. So this Samadhin kurvam nityam kalayati. It has to go on unceasingly. As Sri Ramakrishna used to say, that let the thought of God become your toothache. That when we have a toothache, whatever we may be doing, a part of my mind is always registering the toothache. I can never forget it. So through practice, this thought of the self, that I am not this limited body-mind complex. I am the Brahman. I am the awareness which is non-local, which is the only non-local awareness behind the entire existence. That's the real me. Aham Brahmasmi. So this contemplation should go on unceasingly. That's being mentioned by the word Swasya Sarvatma Bhavam. That the self in me is actually the self of all. So that speaks of the Brahman. I am that Brahman. So this contemplation should go on unceasingly. I should practice again and again, again and again, till it becomes an habitual practice. And then what happens? Then with this type of practice, tena avidya timira janitan sadhu dagdha vikalpan. So with this type of practice alone, I can burn in totality. Sadhu dagdha. Sadhu means in totality. Sadhu has been used in the sense of totality. Dagdha means to burn off. I can burn off all the vikalpas. This, as we were mentioning, this word vikalpa is very important. That first, with this vikalpa means substitute. When I am saying aham brahmasmi, I haven't realized Brahman. So this is also, this language itself is a dual representation of the actual realization of Brahman. So this itself is a vikalpa. But this vikalpa helps me to get rid of all other vikalpa. That whatever I am seeing is nothing but the Brahman appearing as the world of name and form. In that way, whatever I am seeing is vikalpa, substitute of the Brahman. So I am getting rid of this world of name and form, of my identification with the body, mind, senses, with the vikalpa aham brahmasmi. But then when I have got rid of all this remains. This also has to go. This also has to fall off. This constant, this brahmakara vritti, that one vritti called brahma akara, the vritti which has taken the shape of Brahman. It is not actually the realization of Brahman, just a vritti, their mind wave, which has taken the shape, which has taken the idea, the concept of Brahman. So brahma akara vritti. That's what is meant by brahmakara vritti. So this also has to fall off. This vritti has the capacity to strike off the ego. As long as this idea of localized consciousness is there, that like a hub of a will is connecting all the spikes of the will, which are the innumerable desires, the innumerable mental modules. I have developed this new mental module in the form of brahmakara vritti, with the help of which what I have done, because all the vrittis are linked with this ego. This vritti is saying that I am not this body-mind complex. You are trying to get rid of this aham, the hub. So with this, by hammering of this hub of the will, what happens? All the other desires, which are like spikes connected to the hub, if the hub is removed, all of them collapses. And that's the idea of getting rid of all the... When this hub collapses, even the brahmakara vritti also collapses, because that also is something which has evolved, which I have designed as a mental module, which is linked to that ego. As we previously gave that example, it is just like Kalidasa. We know that the story of Kalidasa, that he later was transformed into a realized soul. But initially, that story we are not going to the detail, but initially he was a fool. He was a stupid. How it was realized that he was a stupid? It was found that Kalidasa was sitting on a branch of a tree, and with the axe he was cutting the branch of the tree. So that speaks of the stupidity. He himself will fall. But that's the stupidity which we have to adopt in our spiritual journey if we have to kill the mind and go beyond the mind. So what's that? The hub of our personality, the will of our personality is the ego. I have designed one of the mental module. These various spikes of the will, they are the innumerable mental modules which I have developed in the process of evolution. Now I am designing a new mental module, this aham brahmasmi. But this mental module, what it is doing? Though it is linked with the ego, it has been created by linked with the ego, but it is constantly sever the ego, cut the ego. With the axe, just the way the branch you are sitting, you are trying to cut the node from which that branch has came out. So you are cutting that node itself. And then what happens? When the ego falls off, along with all other modules, even this brahmakara vritti, that module also falls off. That's what is meant by sadhu dagdhan. All the vikalpas has fallen off. Even this meditation, aham brahmasmi, that also falls off. And that takes you to that ultimate realization. You find the ego has fallen, that amness has become non-local, and that's the only thing that exists without any limitation, as per the time is concerned, without any limitation as per its need to sustain itself, without the help of anything else is concerned. It is just independent. It exists by its own right. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't need the support of anything else, and it is eternal. So that realization dawns in when the ego falls off through your practice, and that's being indicated. Brahma kritya nivasati sukham. So when you go to that realization, then you realize what that ultimate sukha is. It is not transient. This ananda is something incessant. It's always there. Nothing is there to hinder it, to annihilate it. So this sukham, that which is always there. There is no want. All our actions originate from want, from that I want something. I am hungry, I need food. So without food, I cannot exist as the body-mind complex. But when I realize that I am not the body-mind complex, I am the self, then what happens? That whether the body remains or not, I am no more bothered, no more concerned. So this, all the actions which enunciate, which starts from the desire, they also start falling off. So that's being indicated by the idea nishkriya. Nishkriya, nirvikalpa. Nirvikalpa means you have gone beyond all these vikalpas. You are established in the self. All the things which were substituting the self as the world of name and form, that has fallen off. So you are, identified with your real self and are immersed in the bliss of the self, which is unceasing, which is not momentary like the sensate pleasures of life. That the moment you get it, and the object of your sense, immediately you feel that ecstasy and then it's gone. It's not like that. It is something unceasing. That's what being indicated by Brahma Kritya Nivasati. By being established in Brahma, you get established in Sukham. And that happiness, which you need not have to attain through some action, Nishkriyam, and which is beyond words. Avang Manasa Gocharam. That's what is being indicated by the word Nirvikalpa. It cannot be expressed through the words. Just the way Sri Ramakrishna nicely used to say, when you are tasting ghee, you experience, you realize its taste. But if I say, can you please explain? I cannot explain. So it is something experienceable but cannot be expressed. You cannot express it. You cannot communicate it. It is not describable, but it is experienceable. Like mother's love. If you ask the mother that the love for the child, can you explain it to me? It cannot be quantified. It cannot be explained. At the most, what the mother can say, you become the mother. Then you will understand what the mother's love is. So you experience. Then you will realize what it is. So this is being indicated by the word nirvikalpam. It is beyond all vikalpa. So that's which cannot be explained. It can be experienced. So that is avang, avak, manasa, agocharam. It is beyond the mind, beyond the speech. So this process of annihilation of the ignorance leading to the Brahmagyana is further described in the 362nd verse. So what it is saying in the 362nd verse? Nirantara abhyasa vashat tat ithang pakkang mana brahmani liyate yada tada samadhi savikalpa varjitah swatah advaya ananda rasa anubhavakah. So when the mind thus gets purified by constant practice, nirantara, nira, ni, antara. Antara means interruption. Ni is a negation. So without any interruptions, uninterruptedly, when you are practicing abhyasa vashat, then what happens? Tat ittha pakkam. The mind becomes matured. Tat ithang pakkam manaha. This You get merged, and this Brahmani liyate, you get merged in Brahman, and then what happens? With that matured mind, you get merged in the Samadhi, and then the Samadhi process is being described here very distinctively. Tada Samadhi Savikalpa Varjita Swataha Advaya Ananda Rasa Anubhavaka. So as long as that thought process is there, constant unceasing thought process, aham brahmasmi, aham brahmasmi. At the beginning, the distractions are there, along with that this thought is there. So this thought is not the only thought. The other thoughts are there which is interrupting this thought. But by constant practice, a time comes when what happens? All other thoughts have fallen off. This one thought is there in the mind, aham brahmasmi. So this leads to savikalpa samadhi. What is the savikalpa samadhi? That samadhi means absorption. I have got rid of all thoughts with the help of these thoughts, so I am completely absorbed with this one thought. But that thought also is still vikalpa. It is, you are just thinking I am Brahman, but you have not realized what it is. So that's why it is savikalpa. But this will lead to that state of nirvikalpa. What that? This, when the mind becomes, it becomes like a laser beam, strong enough to get rid of the ego and take you to that realization. That's what we mentioned. So this when the mind enters into a state of flow with the help of this Brahmakara vritti, all vrittis has fallen off. Only this is the vritti. That's the state of this savikalpa samadhi. And when the Brahmakara vritti hammers off the hub of the will, that is the ego, it has hammered it off. Then you enter, the merge into a state where all the vikalpas has fallen off. You become what you are. So there is no need for any vritti to define yourself. At present, I define myself by what? That this is my name, such is my height, such is my weight, I have these qualifications. All these things are attributes. It doesn't speak of the real me. The real me is that the nirvikalpa state. So these all has to fall off at last to get established in the realization of what we are. So with the help of this this Brahmakara vritti, this Brahmakara vritti first takes you to the state of savikalpa samadhi, where all vrittis has fallen off. It alone is there. And then it has become strong enough to get rid of your ego, and you enter into the state of this nirvikalpa samadhi, and then you realize the real ananda, advaya ananda rasa anubhavaka. So this realization of the bliss of Brahman, which is one without second, advaya. So whenever we say one, with that one there is the idea of many. That there is one God, and this universe of name, this many name and form, is as if something which is under the domain of God. So God is one, and this the world of name and form is many. But when I say one without second, this world of name and form is denied. This Brahman alone exists, which is appearing as this world of name and form. That's the idea of one without second. That whenever I say one, there's the idea of many as a contrast is always there. So to get rid of that idea of many, it is again and again in the Advaita Vedanta it is mentioned, one without second, that alone exists. Nothing else is there. And that what exists, that is also beyond mind, beyond senses. As Sri Ramakrishna very nicely used to explain, this idea of this non-dual reality. One day he asked a devotee, most probably Girish Chandra Ghosh, suppose there are 10 pots and they're full of water, and in the sky there is a sun. Now, Sri Ramakrishna asked that how many reflections will be there? The one sun and 10 reflections. And the sun is there on the sky and there are 10 reflections. And then Sri Ramakrishna started saying, I break one pot. How many? 9 pots. And the one sun, of course, is there. So that way Sri Ramakrishna was again and again saying, I break one pot. So at last one pot remains, and Girish says, yes, there is one reflection and one sun. And then Sri Ramakrishna says that one pot, last pot, that also is broken. What remains? He says only the sun. No more reflection. And immediately Sri Ramakrishna, this is a wonderful explanation of Advaya, one without second. He says you cannot say that. Unless the reflection is there, you can never know the sun. It is only through the reflection I know the sun. It is as long as the mind is there, Brahman is there, the Brahman is coming in association with the mind, that gives me the idea of something beyond the mind. It is called Tatastha Lakshana, that I cannot see the river. From a distance I see a tall tree, and I know that the river is flowing just by the side of that tree. So what? Though I cannot see the river, by seeing the tree, I know that there is a river which is flowing by the side of it. So similarly, as long as I see the reflection, with the reflection, that reflection becomes the tata, the bank, which gives the referral point, the bank, the referral point, which indicates me of the self. But when the mind is totally gone with the Brahmakara Vritti, you get absorbed in it. There is no one there to describe what it is. Then does it mean a state of inertness? No. You are experiencing it, but it cannot be in any way described. So it is, you are totally absorbed in that, the experience of this Akhanda Advaya Ananda Rasa Anubhava. You are totally absorbed in that bliss, which is beyond all description. And then in the 364th verse, what it is saying? So this all we are hearing. After hearing, we may have an idea. Oh, I've understood. Oh, this, the eternal witness is actually that non-dual consciousness. That's the real me. So once I know that, nothing should disturb me. Now with this idea, I go out to the world. I just interact with the world. With the happenings of the world will not disturb me, because from the scriptures I have known that I am that self which is beyond all the dualities which I experience in this life. So, by reading scripture we may have this idea, but this reading the scripture or hearing the scripture is not enough. It has to become our realization, to stress the need for the practice, that religion is not mere belief, it doesn't lie in the doctrine and the dogma. Through practice we have to go to the realization. To stress this, the 364th verse, what it is saying? Srute shatagunang vidyan mananat api nididhyasang lakshaguna manana anantang nirvikalpam. So manana, cogitation on what you have heard, mental cogitation, to get to develop an intellectual conviction. Because when I hear, so many doubts may arise. Is it true? And without any bias, I try to cogitate upon the words of the scripture again and again. Try to understand it intellectually. This process of mental cogitation is called manana. So just compared to the mere hearing of the scriptures or reading of the scriptures, Srute shatagunang vidyan mananat. So this manana is 100 times superior, shataguna, than sravana. And mananat api nididhyasam lakshaguna. And nididhyasana. That once I develop that intellectual conviction, yes, by constantly cogitating, I have shraddha in the words of the Guru. What Guru said cannot be wrong. He is speaking from his realization. He is an authentic person. He has realized the truth, and what he has realized, he is speaking to me. I don't doubt the words which he is speaking, but at the same time, I don't have proper understanding. So with humility, I accept that, and I try to cogitate upon it. And at last, what happens? Gradually, all the misunderstanding falls off, gap in the understanding vanishes, and I develop a very, very strong intellectual conviction. And this intellectual conviction is something which is again not the final thing in our spiritual journey. It's just an intellectual conviction. So mananat api, that's why I have to now meditate on this intellectual conviction. That once through my intellectual cogitation I have realized that I am Brahman. There is no doubt about it. But this is just an intellectual idea. So now I have to start my meditation, aham brahmas, that I am Brahman. This I have to start meditating. First I have to really intellectually be convinced of the fact that yes, this idea of local consciousness is an illusion. That after all, my consciousness is non-local. This I have to intellectually, first I have to understand. There should be a intellectual conviction. But that's not enough. Now, this meditating on this intellectual conviction is called nididhyasana. This will take me to the realization. Because this intellectual conviction will take the form of brahmakara vritti, when all the vrittis falls off. And this alone remains. It only happens once I am sure about it. I cannot meditate on something on which I have doubt. So I have, through manana, I have reached an intellectual conviction, and now I am unceasingly meditating on this intellectual conviction. This meditation on the intellectual conviction is the nididhyasana. This nididhyasana, Bhagavad Pada Shankaracharya is saying, is laksha guna. That manana is 100 times better than Sruti, and nididhyasana is 100,000 times better than manana. And then nididhyasana is not the final. It may lead me to that brahmakara vritti, that my mind is not distracted by anything. I can keep my mind in the thought of Brahman, but still it's a thought. It has to fall off ultimately to take me to that realization, where the ego falls off, ego obliterates, taking me to that realization. So that's why manana anantang nirvikalpam. Nididhyasang lakshaguna manana anantang. And compared to this nididhyasana, but nirvikalpa is something which is infinite in its results. Anantang nirvikalpam. So at last, all this meditative process has to end up in that ultimate nirvikalpa samadhi. So what it is speaking? That again we say that arise, awake and stop not till the goal is reached. That there is a bliss even in this savikalpa samadhi. And many may get absorbed in that. What happens when there is only one thought? All thoughts have fallen off. It gives a tremendous detachment. All the baggages of thoughts, worries, tensions which I was carrying, that has fallen off. From that let go, a type of bliss ensues. I may take it to be that ultimate bliss, but it is not the ultimate bliss. So that's why these are the milestones to indicate that. Bhagavad Pada Shankaracharya is saying that don't stop there. Beyond that something is there which is ananta. That is something which cannot be even measured. So go beyond that. Don't be satisfied just in this that your contemplation of the Brahman. This contemplation should at last end up in that realization. So that's why we find Swamiji is saying in the complete works in so many lectures that religion is realization. Without realization, that religion, after all, has no value. It has to take me to that ultimate realization. Then only it has served its purpose. So that's being indicated in the 364th verse. So that after that, we will find that what is being indicated, that the 367th verse, yogasya. Now, we will have to go to the very basics. That for this practice, seclusion is very much necessary. And for the seclusion, what's the thing which we have to adopt? First is silence. That only, if there is no silence, if I am constantly interacting with the world, and even if I have stopped interacting with the world, in my mind that conversation is going on, then there cannot be any spiritual evolution practice. So the silence and then aparigraha, these are the basic requirements. Aparigraha means non-acceptance of gifts. We will come to the inner meaning of these words. Nirasha. Asha means ambition. Nirasha, not too ambitious. And this Niriha, it means going beyond actions. And this Nityam Ekanta Shilata, this practicing Ekanta Shilata, this loneliness, aloofness, cutting off yourself from the entire world. So these are the things which are prerequisites for going to the state of Samadhi. So let's read the verse. Yogasya prathamadvarang vak nirodha. First comes vak nirodha. Not be too much talkative. Apparigraha, non-acceptance of gifts. Nirasha, not too ambitious. And niriha, not resorting to hyperactivity. Cha nityam ekanta, and always living in a retired space. So what actually it means, let us try to understand it a bit in a deeper sense. Vak nirodha. Vak nirodha means silence. Not constantly talking, conversing, this making everything noisy. But this true silence, mauna, in Sanskrit is called mauna. It doesn't mean just this stopping of your verbal conversation. Its real meaning is the absence of, not the mere absence of sound. The person might not speak at all and yet be full of mental noise. So that is not vak nirodha. So you have to stop the inner conversation, which you find in your mind the inner conversation is going on. That has to be subdued. And then comes apparigraha, this acceptance of gifts. It has, you will find, whenever we accept gifts, with that comes a sense of obligation. From obligation comes dependence. And then sometimes we crave for more. That previously I was quite satisfied with what I have. And someone gives me something, and then the craving comes. Oh, this is the thing I want. So next time I will find the thing which was not my need. It was just something which I could manage even without that. But once it is given, now I cannot stay without it. I will just give an example. In the olden days, in our tropical climate, even we find that when I was in a residential school, in a hostel, there was no fan. There was no fan. It was quite, we have to face that hardship. But when the fan was not there, we never felt that we are facing the hardship. That was what was an accepted norm. But once I haven't asked for it, and the fan was fitted in all the dormitories. And now if the current goes off, the power is not there, the fan is not moving in that hot sultry weather, now I feel the need of the fan. So when the gift is given, what I haven't asked for, that can create craving, and that will result in mental turbulence. So that's why practice apparigraha. Unnecessarily I will be obliged to certain person. Some things which I don't like, but because he has given me and I have developed a dependence, now I come under his control. I have to forbear so many whims and fancies of that person most probably. So that's why apparigraha in spiritual life is very important. Don't accept gift. It doesn't mean that even a sadhu goes out for bhiksha. The essential thing that is required, I cannot stay without food. Then the non-acceptance of gift means what? You will find, even in the practice of bhiksha, very important thing was there. There was a concept of madhukari. That yes, for the sustenance of the body I need food. I have to go and beg for the food. And that becomes acceptance of gift. But how to minimize the sense of obligation, dependence? Very interesting idea was there. That when you go out for bhiksha, minimum you should go for 3 houses, not less than that. And maximum 5 houses for bhiksha. So not less than 3 houses, not more than 5 houses. What's the idea? That if I get the bhiksha from one house, I am becoming dependent on him. That he also feels I have given something substantial. the giver also have the feeling that I have given, and naturally in a subtle way some acceptance. If not, he is returning anything in kind, at least he should have a sense of respect, gratitude towards me. That will be there. So that's why they say minimum go to 3 houses. Why? That don't beg from one house. If you go to 3 houses minimum, then what will happen? As per your necessity, you will be asking for a very little, just one morsel of food. Even the giver feels, oh, it's just very something trivial. He doesn't feel that I have really given something substantial. So that way when you go to 3 houses, you are not asking for something very, very substantial from any of the one who is giving you the bhiksha. So just a small amount, and not more than 5. It may so happen that sometimes even after going to 5 houses, you have not got sufficient food. Then you should practice aparigraha by thinking that the Lord most probably, that it is today destined that I have only this much. I shouldn't waste my time just chasing for my food for hours together. That will be wastage of time. So just see how that I cannot practice aparigraha totally. I have to sustain my body. But how it can be practiced? So this idea of madhukari. Madhukari means just like a bee. This madhukari is a bee. It connects honey from in various flowers. When it is having nectar from one flower, that flower doesn't die. It still is alive because it has taken a very little amount of honey from that flower. But it will have sufficient honey by collecting nectar, small amount of nectar from many flowers. So similarly, the bhiksha should be like that. Just like a bee, just take a little from one person and don't go on with the unceasing your attempt to get this food from many houses. Limit it to 5. So that's how you will find the balance was maintained. This aparigraha. But in the present day, even for all of us, what to speak of sannyasi, even for others, aparigraha is very important. You will find in your workplace, in all this so-called company, in all these big organizations, multinational organization, there is this practice of aparigraha, that never accept gift from your client, because your decision will get biased. If you take some, even with the politicians, you will find. When I came to Australia, I read that news. Just someone presented just one bottle of wine to some politician and he had to resign. Because that will create a sense of that acceptance. That once you accept it, then that obligation comes. Now you will be trying to favor that person in a way which is maybe unconstitutional. So he had to resign. Just for a small bottle of wine, he had to resign. So this speaks of aparigraha. But nowadays aparigraha is really something which we have to understand in a still deeper level. Our internet and the social media, it's almost like a free gift. You just have a Wi-Fi connection anywhere. No one is charging you anything, and the entire world comes to you as a gift. And then you will find that what happens there, the practice of aparigraha in the present world. Non-acceptance of gift means not to get involved with this internet and the social media. We know the result of it. All sorts of distractions will result from it. Wants will be there. I cannot stay without it. In the present age, this has become a big evil. What to speak of householders? Even the sadhus may get totally stuck to it. And you will find you have started growing dependence on it. So you will find this aparigraha, and it will create new urges. That there are so many advertisements of various products. Most probably I never thought of it. I will be just going for these online purchases. So it creates thousands of complications the moment I expose myself to it. So there also this the world is as if giving me as if a free gift, but nothing that they say there is nothing called a free meal, nothing called. Actually, the moment we are resorting to this internet and the social media, we ourselves become the product. There's something which is being consumed. Someone else is taking all our data. That's why you will find, you search something, the next day you will be flooded with the advertisement of that same thing, so many. Because all your data is being collected and they are trying to influence you with the help of the data they have collected from you, and you become the victim of that process. So just see, here also that aparigraha stands, that the entire, in the present world, this social media, internet is almost like a free gift to us. I'm not paying at each and every step, nothing. But it is constantly entangling me and my mind becomes totally unrest. So this practice of aparigraha in the present age, you will find, has become more subtle. This aparigraha. And then the practice of nirasha, not to be too ambitious. The previous two practice has to do with this practice of nirasha. If you are not doing vak nirodha, that you are allowing, that though you are not conversing, but you are allowing the mind to have its free reign, then what will happen? You will think of all sorts of akash kushuma kalpana. That so many things will come up in your mind. You will be constantly, this inner dialogue will result in what? Imagining of a better future, resist the present and fantasize endlessly. This all will go on in the mind. And that will create all these asha, these various ambitions. It is extremely harmful in spiritual life. How? There's a nice episode in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. The Sri Ramakrishna's nephew Hriday was tending on a male calf. Seeing that, Sri Ramakrishna asked that you are taking care of this male calf, why? And then Hriday said that I am nurturing it so that when it grows big, I will take it to my native village about 150 kilometers away from Calcutta, and there I will make it I will convert it into a bull, and it will be just used for my plowing my agricultural land. Hearing that, Sri Ramakrishna immediately fell unconscious. And when he regained consciousness, he said, just see the Maya. What's the Maya? This Asha. That this small calf, it has to grow, it has to go 150 kilometers, and then this agricultural land he has to plow. Just see that our Asha is making us to think so many things, and it makes us more and more engrossed in this all this worldly affairs of life. So that's why nirasha has to do with vak nirodha. If you don't stop all those mental cogitations, imaginations in the form of akasha kushuma kalpana, that's building castles in the air, it will lead to this asha. So to nirasha, this practice of vak nirodha is important. Even aparigraha is important. That unless this practice aparigraha, this, as we say, the moment I accept gift, the immediately new desires, cravings come. From that asha will come again. So aparigraha also becomes very important practice. Aparigraha and vak nirodha. Then if I practice that, then only I can practice this nirasha, not to be unhygienically ambitious in our life. And then from that, of course, the next is niriha. That if you have too much of desires, from kama comes karma. To fulfill my desires, I have to resort to action. So I cannot become free from action unless I get rid of the desire. And then this practice, for all this practice, what is required? Nityam ekanta shilata. So to practice all those things, the basic thing is required is aloofness. I have to cut off myself to a certain extent from the society. As Sri Ramakrishna used to indicate by this with the word nirjana vasa. That as long as I am with the society, My mind is going to get influenced by the things of the world. As Sri Ramakrishna used to say, if you stay in a room whose walls are painted with soot, you know the soot, when you are burning a lamp, the glass covering on the lamp, that will get the black covering, that's carbon covering, that's the soot. So if you paint the walls of your room with the soot, Sri Ramakrishna is saying what will happen? However careful you may be, you are bound to get tainted. You will get tainted. So the environment becomes very important. If I am exposing myself to this world, thinking that I am strong enough to keep myself detached from it, it's not possible. So that's why to be in a seclusion, to be aloof from the world as much as possible is very important in our spiritual life. This is a preliminary practice. This preliminary practice of aloofness alone can take you to the Samadhi, will be explained in the next two verses, the 368th and the 369th, which again we will take up in the next class. So this aloofness itself, if we can practice it properly, can take us to the ultimate Samadhi. How it takes us, the sequences will be explained in the 368 and the 369th verse, which we will take up again in the next class. With this, we stop our discussion today. Thank you all. Namaskars.